War of Mine. In the altars, you take on the role of Jan Dolsky, a simple worker on a space mining mission gone horribly wrong. Stranded and alone on a strange planet after his ship crashes, Jan must figure out a way home, but he can't do it by himself. He'll need the help of alters, alternative versions of himself, who made different choices in life and have the skills and expertise Jan needs. But alters aren't just another body and set of skills. They're entirely different people with unique perspectives, hopes, dreams, traumas, and ambitions. To get home, Jan will not only need to get along with his alters, but make some hard choices too, and come to terms with some of the choices he made in the past. To better understand the alters and how this unique setup affects the many branching story paths you'll encounter as you play, we sat down with the alters game director and lead designer, who were kind enough to answer some of our most burning story-related questions.
Jan, the main character of our game, he's got many regrets in his life, and he tends to ask himself this question, like, what if? What if I've made some different choices in the past? Where would I be right now?
Or was there ever another way?
So he's using this space mining mission that he's on as a chance to put his life on a different track. But unfortunately, the things went south, and he ended up all alone on this distant, desolate planet.
Dolsky here. Do you read me? Anyone?
Where, in order to survive and go back home, he needs to face even more tough choices, including the creation of the altars. When we were creating the life path of Jan and designing different decisions that shaped him into who he is in the game, we really wanted this to feel relatable. So we were gathering our own experiences internally in the team, asking ourselves, like, what is your what if question? What is the thing maybe you regret in your life? And they can come from different places. They can be career related or maybe relationship related. Things like, what if I didn't leave my hometown? Or what if I fought harder to save this relationship I had? Things like that.
So this is what the branching is about?
At the end, we really want for every player to find something relatable to them. At least one of the choices that Jan had in his past, I hope will be something the players can relate to.
In order to get along with the alters well, we'll have to understand the emotions that they have and what people they are become because of their life decisions. And the emotions are handled by a pretty sophisticated emotional system that is more complex than just, they are feeling good or bad and a single bar. And because of that, we can have emotions like frustration, rebellion, maybe amused by something, or maybe stressed by something, or saddened by something. And all those different emotions allows us to create different alter who acts differently in different situations, because then those emotions translate to the things they do.
Tell me what's going on. What have you done to my body?
They may rebel against the player, or may help the player somehow, or maybe boost the morale of the crew, or on the other hand, they may be so sad that they don't want to work anymore for the mission.
Oh no, thanks, man. I've had my share of surprises.
We are bringing new alters to the base in order to solve the problems that Jan, the main Jan, wouldn't be able to solve on his own. So, for example, we can bring the scientist Jan, who will be able to conduct research and create a technology that will allow us to move our base, run away from the sun, and he solves our problem. But at the same time, we are bringing a new person to the crew with entirely new personality. Jan scientist is very career-driven, ambitious alter. Soon he might start undermining our decisions as a leader. So while solving one problem, we are creating new ones. And in order to effectively manage our crew and find solutions for everything, we have to really understand who they are, what is their personality, what affects them, and successfully manage them.
Why don't you start with going through the mission logs? I need to get the full picture first.
My thoughts exactly.
Also, there's a lot of things going on the emergent storytelling level, so if they are in a bad shape, they may start some narrative bits that will create a different gameplay experience. But let's not forget about the fact that the alters are in a good shape and they are happy and highly motivated. They will, on the other hand, help the player. They will help him achieving his goals. It will be easier for them to fix their problems, but they can also help the other alters with fixing their problems and dealing with their past and decisions. Base management is very important for many aspects of the game. First, it influences the economy part, of course. This is pretty obvious, but also has to be maintained. If you don't maintain your base well, it will deteriorate. There will be accidents. Those accidents will create emergent stories and will influence the general alter storylines or the main story. Finally, the bigger the base is, the more Rapidium you can bring back home, and this is very important for Jan, for the people back on Earth. So this is another way you can influence the narrative.
We want to spend time with our alters. We need to invest the time in our relationship, because only then we will be able to uncover their stories, understand them fully, and with this crew that we understand, that we know how to manage, we will be able to succeed in the mission.
Just don't push yourself. You don't need to prove anything.
Time is a very important resource in our game. Everything we do requires some time, whether it's excavating the resources or crafting stuff or conducting the research. All of the tasks require us some time, and that's why we need alters on board, because Jan, he won't be able to make everything on time. He's being chased by a giant rising star, so he's got this ticking clock behind his back. But at the same time, we don't want to rush things too much. From the very beginning, we wanted to tell the story of Jan in a classic manner, but also create a game that is more open-ended and allows players more freedom in creating their own stories. So the narrative structure in our game consists of different layers. On top, we have this more classic narrative structure, which is a branching story of Jan landing on the planet and finding his way home. And it is a branching story with multiple different endings, but underneath there is this second layer of the alter storylines. And it's up to the players what alters they create. It's not possible to have all the alters in a single playthrough, so when you replay the game, you will be able to create different alters and also within their storylines make different choices to shape their story in your own way. And underneath all of this, we have this giant layer of the emergent narrative that comes from the decisions you make, economical decisions, strategic decisions, the way you handle your base, the way you treat your alters. It all affects them and can result in some unexpected outcomes, different reactions, different events, different mini scenarios that can happen. In the end, we hope it all adds up to this, unique experience of each player having their own unique playthrough.
How did they get it, and what for?
And there's also the topic of emergent gameplay. This is also something that showed up in our games for the first time in This War of Mine. In the Alters, we do the same thing. We use a lot of emergent narration, but in this game we also connect this with more classic approach to the narration, where we have a single storyline that is branching, and we enforce this storyline with those emergent systems that make this story richer. There are a couple of mechanics in game that I am proud of, but they're not easily visible at the first glance. One of them would surely be the emotional mechanic that is pretty complicated. It consists of many different variables, and we don't show them as values or numbers, but more like adjectives that are floating around the altars and that they have different size. And those variables, they connect into even more sophisticated emotions. And all of this makes it very hard for our more analytical brain to process, but it's quite easy if you try to use your empathy part of the brain to process that. So the idea behind making this so complicated is not only to create different personalities for the alters that are very nuanced, but also to make the player use this proper part of the brain when they're trying to cope with alters.
Doesn't feel that simple. Don't worry about it too much. No. I'll try.
The other thing would be the way we use the exploration. Of course, it is a tool to get gameplay loop. You are going to the exploration, looking for the resources, going back to base and facing the problems with the alters and so on and so forth. But it is quite important that we also wanted to use this exploration part to create a special environment for the player to actually think about all those decisions that the alters made, and ultimately maybe create a space for them to think about their own decisions.
We can't wait for the players to meet the alters, learn their different stories, and in the end, understand what made them who they are. And in the end, we just hope that everyone will find something, learn something about themselves through the alters.
We are who we choose to be. In the alters, Jan Dolsky's past is set. At least, your version of Jan is. But your alters are an ocean of untapped potential, and the future you can build with them is up to you. The alters looks like it's asking Jan and his alters the most important question of all. Who are you? And if 11-bit studios can deliver, the answer to that question is shaping up to be very, very interesting. Stay tuned all month long as our IGN first coverage of the alters continues. And for everything else in gaming, keep it here at IGN.
There was a time when things were good on Shady Side. But now, that's all gone.
Oh man, I turn the wood around with the skeleton hand, yeah.
Hello?
Still alive.
Who is this?
It's happening again.
Tonight is Sunnyvale versus Shady Side. Red versus blue, good versus evil. Recommensicate color!
Are you okay?
That was 1978. 5,937 days ago.
Shady Side, a history of horror has earned it the nickname Killer Capital USA.
What's happening to us?
These massacres happen in Shady Side over and over.
You were the only person who survived. How do we end this?
You have to go back to where it all started.
1666.
The devil has come to feast on our misdeeds.
If they want a witch,
Witches! Witches!
I will curse this tome forever.
It's been 3 centuries. It stops here. It stops with us. Who the hell was that?
How should I know? She was hot. The bitch seemed normal.
Amazing observation.
Your best chance is to run from this place.
In Shady Side, we're all cursed.
The devil is in me.
And since you're fighting these things,
Try not to die.
Welcome to the suck.
come back from that motherfucker.
I can't take it.
Please, no!
Up the road, there's a place stuck in time.
What is that?
Stuck in time.
Every time we die, we find ourselves back here again.
Stuck in time.
But the night is never the same. We're here again.
Stuck in time.
But the night is never the same.
Every night, something new is trying to kill us.
We're here again.
Something new is trying to kill us.
What is that? We're here again.
If we want to survive,
Oh my God.
we have to make it until dawn.
I want out.
Until dawn.
Please let me out.
We have to make it until dawn.
Please let me out.
Until dawn. We have to make it until dawn. They're coming!
Up the road, that's where people get into trouble.
Well, hello, friends and fans. It's beyond awesome to have you guys all back this year.
Not all video game remakes are recreated equally. For every genuinely game-changing Final Fantasy VII Remake or Metroid Zero Mission, you have comparatively more surface-level restorations like 2018's Shadow of the Colossus or 2020's Destroy All Humans. Until Dawn fits firmly into that latter camp. Its colourful cast of horny teenagers and spooky snowy mountains setting have never looked better, but its gripping life or death decision-based gameplay is more or less identical to how I remember it from the 2015 original. The general lack of gameplay improvements and noticeable performance problems are a poor trade-off for what it offers, and that makes it tough to recommend, particularly since its premium price makes Until Dawn seem less like a must-have bit of moonlit murder and something closer to a case of daylight robbery.
I'm so sorry.
Here's what our reviewer said in her review of the 2015 original.
At its best, Until Dawn is a gleefully cheesy homage to horror movies set in a world built by a developer that clearly adores the genre. Although its thrills are tempered by a lack of story cohesion, a robust choice and consequence system, and a keen eye on horror's most ridiculous tropes, makes Until Dawn ultimately worth playing.
That sentiment still largely rings true. It's basically the same game after all. While Supermassive's subsequent choose-your-own misadventure horror stories like 2021's House of Ashes and 2022's The Quarry have come close to matching it, Until Dawn still remains the most well-rounded execution of the choice and consequence-heavy formula that the developer has made its own. Its schlock horror story is crammed with entertainingly gory scenarios inspired by the likes of Saw, The Descent, and Poltergeist. And its cast is headlined by strong performances from Hayden Panettiere, Peter Stormare, and Rami Malek, whose characters remain just as engaging today as they were 9 years ago, even in spite of the occasionally cringe-inducing dialogue.
Excuse me? Did you say something?
Oh, did you not hear me? Was your sluttiness too loud?
While the cast and remote Blackwood Pines setting remain the same, everything has been rebuilt in Unreal Engine 5 for this remake, and it shows in ways both good and bad. There's no question that the higher quality textures and dramatically improved lighting combine to give this interactive slasher film a considerably more realistic edge.
Did you see this view? I mean, holy cow.
And there are a number of welcome environmental touches like snow that visibly crumples underfoot, and the rays of a setting sun that are reflected in the window glass of a gondola. However, these enhancements come at the cost of a frame rate that's often every bit as shaky as the freaked out teens on screen. And at its worst, this rebuilt Until Dawn is also prone to coming apart completely, like a serial killer's victim on the sharp end of a saw blade. I managed to make it through my full playthrough without ever being unceremoniously bumped out to the PlayStation 5's home screen, but another member of IGN staff reported no fewer than 6 crashes within the 8-hour story's opening half. Until Dawn is supposed to be about preventing its cast of characters from meeting a sudden death at the hands of an unspeakably evil presence, not an indecipherable Sony error code. Whereas the original Until Dawn is experienced mostly from fixed camera perspectives, the 2024 version, for the most part, favours an over-the-shoulder third-person view, not unlike the recently released Silent Hill 2 remake. There are definite benefits to this manual camera control system, both in the sense that it allows you to better observe the heightened detail in the creepy environments around you, and also swivel your viewpoint around to identify the small number of new areas to explore off the beaten path, like this car park outside the ski lift station that wasn't there before. However, there's not much of interest to find in this handful of new locations, and I can't help but feel that the new camera system works against the overall cinematic presentation. Until Dawn's consistent close-up chase cam meant it felt less like I was puppeteering the characters in an interactive slasher movie, and more like I was sauntering my way through a survival horror shooter minus the actual combat. It's also a strange choice that developer Ballistic Moon has scrapped the ability to walk faster in this remake. Characters will automatically break into a sprint during QuickTime event-heavy chase sequences, but otherwise there's no longer the option of speeding the exploration of environments up a bit with the press of a button like you could previously. Combine that with a distinctly drunken sluggishness to character movement that sees them stumble a few steps too many in one direction after you've changed to another, and Until Dawn is now slower and clumsier to control than it used to be, which is not exactly ideal when you're trying to herd a group of hapless teenagers towards surviving the many horrors of the night.
I killed him! What, Chris? I killed him!
The sloppier movement also makes it more of a chore to scour your surroundings for totems. Collecting these scattered Native American artifacts once again gives you brief glimpses at potential character fates, only this time their placements have been reshuffled, presumably to make finding them more of a challenge for returning players. That's all well and good, but I wish that actually triggering the premonitions hadn't been turned into such a fiddly process. In the original Until Dawn, you found a totem, flipped it over to see a character's potential death, and then moved on. Now you have to pick the totem up, then slowly shift it up and down and swivel it left and right before a tiny glimmer of light appears somewhere on its surface, and the vision is finally revealed. It just feels annoyingly unwieldy. A bit like trying to retrieve a pick from an acoustic guitar after you've accidentally dropped it into the sound hole, and really only serves to needlessly drag out what was previously a fairly immediate and straightforward process. This token totem twist is pretty much the only new gameplay mechanic of note. Aside from a slightly lengthened prologue and a new post-credits scene that hints at the possibility of a sequel, Until Dawn otherwise features all the same choices, QuickTime events, and potential character fates that it did previously, and the crowd-friendly pass-the-controller co-op gameplay introduced in later Supermassive Games adventures sadly hasn't been retrofitted in here. It is slightly more customizable to personal preferences though, so if you find that your hands are too shaky for the don't move sequences, you can just go ahead and disable them from the pause menu, for example.
Look at that. Steady as a rock. Yeah, but I shoot with this hand.
Overall, however, this Until Dawn remake remains a pretty hard sell given that right next to its listing on the PlayStation Store is the PlayStation 4 version, which still looks sharp and runs at a smooth 60 frames per second on the PlayStation 5 at only a fraction of the cost. The new Until Dawn costs over 4 times as much as the original, at least here in Australia, and there's no upgrade path for existing owners of the PS4 version, like there has been previously with other first-party Sony games like the PS5 ports of Horizon Zero Dawn and The Last of Us Part 2. To be fair, those were technically remasters rather than remakes, and The Last of Us Part 1 is a remake that also had no upgrade path from the PS3 or PS4 remastered versions, but I'd argue that the improvements to Until Dawn are so superficial that it feels much closer to a remaster than a remake anyway.
You guys gonna make out now?
Oh my god, totally. We're so gonna make out.
This remade version of Until Dawn features a substantial visual upgrade that brings it in line with some of the best looking horror adventures on the PlayStation 5. And Supermassive's definitive horror story is just as gory and schlocky as it's ever been.
We gotta go, okay?
However, its cinematic flair is slightly undermined by the new over-the-shoulder camera, and it suffers at the hands of a frame rate that's choppier than even the most caffeinated of axe murderers. Movement is noticeably slower and more sluggish than it used to be, and the handful of new gameplay features like the pointless totem-turning minigame are unwelcome and don't even come close to justifying this remake's premium price tag. Never mind the 8 potential victims to be found inside its cabin in the woods. If you're still determined to play this half-hearted horror remake, you should at least wait until it's the price that is slashed instead. For more IGN reviews, check out our verdicts on Undisputed and Metaphor ReFantazio, and for everything else, stick with IGN.
We gotta find a way out of here.
You want to tell me where the hell we're going?
Manhattan.
Jesus Christ. Can you at least tell me what the hell you are doing out here?
A few weeks back, I got raided.
They took your kid.
Have you seen this man? Goes by the name of Negan.
Give me danger, little stranger. How do I figure into this, Maggie?
The man who's got her show. You know him.
You need me.
Negan is on the island.
We need to go.
You don't know us. We don't know you. You get on the island, but you don't get off. Croat, he makes sure of that.
It's the real reason we're here.
So you want to get to the cycle? That we could help you with.
We get him to tell me where my son is, and we kill him.
I swear you're gonna feel my hand. What the hell is that?
Don't know why you with that man I'm looking for. But I will get to you.
The ending is all that matters.
We gotta find a way out.
I think you're gonna like it here.
It's a broken world, Michonne. Put it together.
We couldn't do anything.
The Walking Dead: The Ones Who Live marks a strong welcome return for previous franchise anchors Andrew Lincoln and Denai Guerrera. The spin-off is emotional, gripping, and very wise when it comes to explaining where their characters wound up after they peeled off from The Walking Dead. That's paramount, right? Not just explaining their long absence and what Rick Grimes and Michonne have been doing, but also, in a way, justifying their departures from the parent series within a story that tricks us into thinking everyone involved knew what they were doing the entire time. The Ones Who Live accomplishes this in spades, though not without falling into some tired storytelling traps.
I have to keep trying. I won't stop. I'm getting there. I'm getting home.
Guerrera's Michonne is a revelation in this mini-saga. In an almost meta manner, her headstrong and heartstrong love for Rick fights back against what could otherwise be frustrating, unnatural plot devices. Every time she runs into one, whether it's characters avoiding the simple conversation that would solve their problem, or someone taking an exceedingly noble route rather than a plausibly human one, Michonne is there to smash these cliches down in the dirt.
This is not the answer. It must end.
Lincoln is in top form as well, playing a fundamentally shattered Rick. His anguish is key to all of this. After Lincoln left The Walking Dead, viewers had to reckon with why Rick never returned from flying away in that Civic Republic military helicopter. Something must have gone horribly awry. Rick's a tooth-and-nail fighter, and it would seem like no force on Earth could stop him from getting back to his loved ones. Addressing these questions is the monumental task of The Ones Who Live, and the show nails it. It takes us through the agony, the defeat, the shame, and the cerebral rewiring that happens to the traumatized. And through the first 4 of its 6 episodes, it all makes for some moving full-circle Walking Dead.
Your phone, you know what it says? The Japanese?
believe a little bit longer.
The miniseries also gives us our first, actually interesting immersion into the CRM. We've met this Three Circles A's and B's army before, on both Fear the Walking Dead and The Walking Dead World Beyond, but without Rick there to immediately answer the most burning of questions, it all just felt like stalling. No, we really didn't want to know more about the group who took Rick, just give us Rick and tell us his story.
I'm trying to save a friend. A friend who saved me.
During Season 9 of The Walking Dead, fans wondered if the CRM was the Commonwealth, the antagonists of the comics' final arc, and subsequently the show's too. But it wasn't, which made their existence even stranger. Why present a villainous group that's way more powerful than the actual endgame? There were many missteps with The Walking Dead's final years, and this was merely one of them. Fortunately, between Dead City, Daryl Dixon, and now The Ones Who Live, vastly superior Walking Dead TV is at our doorstep. Too little too late? Hard to say, but these shows are fine dining compared to the prison food of the Commonwealth arc. And The Ones Who Live has an advantage on its predecessors. Lincoln and Guerrera are the best performers in the franchise. On top of that, their characters have the one love story that remains. Their fates are tied to the hope that these dystopian series rely on to rise above excessive bleakness. It doesn't matter when you checked out of The Walking Dead, because you did, numbers don't lie. The Ones Who Live is worth the brief return to the fold.
It's been so long.
The credits on The Ones Who Live signal a more in-house, hands-on approach and the desire to get this one right. Scott Gimple, the former Walking Dead boss who now oversees the entire franchise for AMC, is back in the showrunner's chair with a main story he crafted with Guerrera. After advancing their kinetic style with the middle episodes of Hawkeye, British directing duo Bert and Bertie managed to open up the world of The Ones Who Live in a powerful way, tracking the characters across long stretches of time while still managing to maintain heart and emotional integrity. They direct the first 2 episodes, which are very much a here's what you missed block. A difficult task, but the stories that unfold within are stunning. The Ones Who Live is a love story, and it never forgets that.
I lost someone years ago. Now I'm looking for him.
There's a frustratingly long list of information this spoiler-free review can't divulge, but what you'll find in The Ones Who Live are 2 people waging a war to get back to one another. And after most of the physical dangers are met head-on, emotional hurdles remain. There's a timeout that you wish a lot of other shows would attempt with characters who aren't on the same page. Amid the grandeur of the CRM and its plans for the world, there's a unique theme about what comes next for humanity. What do we do after everything falls apart? It's about making small stories important within a movement obsessed with the big picture.
You don't get to choose for the world. You don't get to choose for me.
Rounding out the cast are Craig Tate, Leslie Ann Brandt, Terry O'Quinn, and of course, a returning Pollyanna McIntosh, while Matthew August Jeffers provides a pivotal part of Michonne's journey. They're all important in varying ways, making it even more irritating to look back at most of The Walking Dead's final years and all the new characters who retreated into an indistinguishable blah after their initial moments in the spotlight. The Ones Who Live is focused on telling a complete tale with little wasted movement, showcasing how much you have to scrape and claw to find and foster true love and intimacy in a world dedicated to survival at all costs. With powerful performances from its 2 leads, The Ones Who Live is an honest, arduous love story, pitting Rick's stubbornness against Michonne's stubbornness in a battle to give proper closure to one of the few remaining hopeful things about the entire Walking Dead saga. The series hits the mark, save for a few instances where the plot demands unconvincing character choices. For those who've waited years for answers, The Ones Who Live is equal parts sad, sinister, and satisfying. For more on The Ones Who Live, be on the lookout for our FanFest interview with the cast and showrunners, and for everything else, stick with IGN.
Why do you even think I'm gonna go along with all of this? Because everything will change.
When designing character of Jan, we really wanted to create the everyman type of character. We felt this way it would be more easy for people to relate to him, understand his backstory and the choices that he has made in the past and the choices that shaped him.
Was this path just a random sequence of events?
It was crucial for Jan's past to have these points of regrets, because from these points we can branch into drastically different scenarios of how his life could turn out only if he had made some different choices. We needed to build a variety of Jans, not only for gameplay reasons, but also to create a compelling story of Jan and truly dive into the topic of what-if question. And different authors, they have very different skill set that strongly affects your strategy in the game. You can't create all possible alters in a single playthrough, so the decision on who you bring on board will affect the way you handle the base and how you handle your objectives. But having various sets of very different characters with different personalities, that will strongly affect our story, and it will generate very different dynamics between Jans. When it comes to how many alters we can create, when you look at the cover of the game, there's 11 characters, and I think it gives a good sense of magnitude, but we have some surprises up our sleeves about that, so I don't want to spoil the fun, and I think I will leave it at that. We decided to start with the technician because in many ways he is a polar opposite to the main Jan. And he is more competent in some things, while at the same time he can be quite flawed in the others. But what's interesting about him is he keeps challenging our Jan. That's why he's so useful at a very early stage of the game when we are onboarding the player with the whole idea of engaging in the relationship with your alters. Jan and the technician, they branched out quite early in their life paths. Technician, he stayed with his family, he stood up to their abusive father, and these are things that the main Jan, he didn't do, and they are one of his strongest regrets. That's why they serve so well as the main axis of his story. From the point of branching between Jans, their lives can go into very different directions. It's like this butterfly effect, where changing one little decision can affect your entire life and in the end make you a different person. And those differences in personalities are crucial to understand if we want to manage our crew effectively. Different Jans can react to our decisions in different ways. For example, one of them can expect us to be mission-oriented and focused on efficiency, while the other might require us to be more of an empathetic leader. And pleasing everyone won't be easy, if not impossible. The alters have their emotional state that affects how they work, how they behave, and if it's not managed well, it can lead to some drastic results, including rebelling against us. We can influence their emotions by our economical or strategic decisions, but also through interactions.
I'm serious. You stood up to Dad. I didn't.
Oh, really? And what did you do? Just stand and watch him take it out on Mom?
The big part of the game are dialogues, and actually every dialogue choice in the game, it affects the emotional state of our alters. So we need to be really careful when talking to them. Understanding their personalities, who they are, where they are coming from, it is crucial because different approaches can work better with different alters.
In that case, why don't you just kick back and take some time to get used to your music? Okay.
The more Jans we create, the more different dynamics between them are generated. And that can of course lead to fights, arguments. We have a chance to intervene or pick one of the sides. For example, alters can argue about the quality of food in the base. One can think we should invest in a better quality food, while the other thinks that this is a waste of precious resources. So every time we make a promise, we need to make sure we can fulfill it. Otherwise, there will be consequences. The relationship between Jans is always about what we have in common, but also what makes us different. And that can lead to both emerging conflicts, but also it can help us in resolving them. So no matter how far different Jans are from each other on the branches of the tree of life, there's always something we share, there's always something we have in common. It just sometimes it will require us to do a little bit more digging in order to find this common ground.
It worked! You did it! We're gonna live! Let's get one thing straight. I did what you created me for.
With Jans, you can expect the unexpected. Like, we put a lot of effort to create these multi-layered characters that you will uncover piece by piece. And at first, when you learn the life path of one of the Jans, you feel like you understand that character just by knowing what he went through. But then you go deeper and deeper and you are uncovering different surprises in not just his outlook of things, but also how he behaves, how he interacts with us, how he interacts with other alters. I do have my favorite alter, although it's a bit like picking your favorite child, but it's the scientist. I hope the others didn't hear it.
That doesn't sound super simple to me. Don't you worry your pretty head about it. Remember, you have me on board.
Between alters, there is this topic of what is going to happen to us. Like, what is our future? Do we even have a future? And the closer we get to actually going back home, this question will be raising more and more tension inside the base. And different alters, they are different people, so they have different outlook on this topic. That will be putting more and more pressure on us as a captain on how are we going to handle this. Something we knew very early on in the development was that we don't want to allow to create multiple versions of the same alter. First of all, cloning was never really a topic of the game for us, and we felt like multiplication of the same character is extremely interesting topic on its own. It's just not something we wanted to talk about here. We didn't want for the players to treat alters like units in the game or mindless NPCs. We wanted to treat them as real people. So we felt that increasing the number of them might in the end reduce their significance as individuals.
What's going on? Wait, I recognize this.
I think the biggest surprises about the alters, they lie in their backstories and the storylines, the situations they can generate. So we really can't wait for the players to start unraveling it all and also start making their own decisions about the shape of their crew, who they're gonna bring on board, in what order, and ultimately what decisions are they going to make about the alters, but also about the fate of the main Jan.
Okay, in you go. Stay safe, brother.
Diver, in the water at 300 feet. Bell, do you copy? Comms check.
Comms check.
Slow your breathing down for me, okay?
You're pushing too hard.
Copy.
On the job now. Keep the focus where it needs to be. Diver 1.
Begin equalization.
Trying to work my magic.
The thrusters have gone offline.
How many?
All of them.
The ship's moving. Get out of there.
Right now. Copy that.
A snag! There is no more slack. That's everything I've got.
The ship's not drifting.
Chris has become our anchor. That's never gonna hold.
Chris, on me.
What happens now?
Your umbilical, it's gonna snap. I will come back for you, but you have to get yourself back to the top. I can't rescue you if I can't find you. Understand?
Just make sure I'm like that.
Where's our power?
Dead in the water. We're drifting out of control.
How much gas does he have left?
Not enough.
We're gonna be too late. It's a body recovery now.
No, it's not. I'm not losing a diver today.
Duncan! Dave! I can't see you!
I got an idea. We'll have to take control of the ship manually.
If we make a mistake, we put the entire ship at risk.
Come on!
This isn't working!
You can do this, buddy.
I'm with you!
Incoming swell. Brace for impact. Now! Now!
Chris! Diver! Where are you?
I've spent years building the life I thought I wanted, but there's something inside of me, something that I can't explain, and I'm afraid I can't control. I don't understand anything that's happening to me.
This power goes way back in your family.
Do all the Mayfairs have gifts? You're just beginning to see the world behind the world. If you open your mind, you can be transformed.
There are some who will lie to you. Evil comes in many forms.
We're bound together. I'm yours to command.
Your gift is the strongest thing I've ever felt.
The darkness is in her. I fear for us all.
You're special. Can you feel it?
For the first time in my life, I know exactly who I am.
In all my years as a licensed mortician, I'd never see anything like this.
That was ridiculous.
I'm Osgood Perkins. I wrote and directed the upcoming motion picture called The Monkey. I am here with
Theo James, one of the stars, and we're here with Matt and Heather, professional morticians.
We're going to take a look at some clips from The Monkey, featuring some of the wild death sequences that we have. I assume a really sharp knife could do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Really?
Have you ever had a head?
Yes.
Absolutely.
There's a famous case where the head was removed and then the woman's eyes followed the man around the room for like a couple of minutes.
Is it a thing that a head keeps talking?
No, absolutely not.
You know, the last guillotine in France was 1977.
Was trampled by a stampede of 67 wild horses in a sleeping bag on a camping trip. It looked like someone had drop kicked a cherry pie.
Would you be able to bury that with an open casket?
Not quite.
But say this happened, they bring the body to you and they say, we'd like to still do an open casket. What do you do?
Sculpture.
Yeah.
Put it inside the skin.
Yeah. A friend of mine, I had to rebuild his face. Old skull.
Holy sh**.
Wait.
That was ridiculous.
So you've seen people dead as a result of electrocution, and what does it normally look like?
Coloration and limbs.
Yeah. You have direct contact with electrical current. You might have a hand blow open or something like that. Current goes through. It's got to come out somewhere.
Well, so it's
kind of.
I've never seen a body part detach personally.
Because of electricity.
Doesn't mean it can't be true. I was expecting a drowning case.
You're welcome. Surprise. There would be that amount of arterial spray. That's why it was funny.
He'd have to stand there a long time.
See, where's this gonna go?
This is still painful.
Happens every day.
That would be a really spot-on rupture.
Yeah.
Technically possible.
You just sat in the car.
Have you ever had the dead body expelling air?
Do they fart?
All the time.
Worst smell in the world.
The fart of a dead body is the worst smell in the world. That's what we've learned today. Go see The Monkey in theaters February 21st. We'll comp them tickets.
We better.
Come on, baby, let's have some fun.
The toy monkey?
It's evil. It's basically the devil.
Now stop me if you've heard this before, but horror? It's a pretty good genre for exploring trauma. It's a truism that Longlegs writer-director Osgood Perkins elevates with equal measures of nuance and brute force in The Monkey, an explosive, delightfully gory adaptation of the Stephen King short story of the same name. As a film, The Monkey shares much in common with its dastardly namesake. It has a wonderful, creepy design that belies complex mechanics working many levels beneath the surface. Is it any wonder that this was produced by James Wan, a man who's introduced us to a number of creepy puppets and playthings? A premise as deceptively simple as if you wind up the monkey, someone brutally dies, leaves a lot of room for error, or for the gnarly kills to be the only thing that anyone remembers. But from that setup, Perkins builds a multifaceted roller coaster of a midnight movie that elicits as many laughs as shocks or gross out gags, and succeeds at both animating and skewering the power that death holds over us all.
It must be vanquished. Why don't you vanquish it, huh, Bill? Wait.
One of the hallmarks of King's horror, and why it's so rich and resonant for so many people, is how he juxtaposes dark subject matter with wholesome iconography. The dynamic invites examination of how and how often darkness and light coexist in everyday life. Perkins has an uncommonly strong grasp on this blend, which acts as the monkey's North Star. Tone is a hard thing to nail down in any genre, but for horror comedies especially, failing to create and maintain a strong voice that serves both genres can be lethal. Perkins honors King's work by keeping the humor and the carnage shoulder to shoulder for the entirety of the monkey's ripping 98 minutes. It's a tightrope he walks from the very beginning. The opening scene quickly demonstrates the threat at hand by way of a straight-faced airline pilot played by one of Hollywood's most reliable straight men, Adam Scott. The prologue begins with genuine tension as the captain insists that the monkey's evil should be taken seriously. Soon enough, someone's been killed by harpoon, and Scott is screaming into the night while doing fiery battle with the monkey. And my jaw was on the floor at that point. This sequence introduces the monkey's bizarre loose energy before the title even hits the screen, as the best opening scenes often do. When the monkey resurfaces in 1990s New England, the thin veil between life and death has become the driving force in the lives of the pilot's twin sons, Hal and Bill Shelburne. Hal is sensitive and quiet, Bill's a bully who really owns the fact that he's 2 minutes older than his brother. They're not exactly close, but both share a deep love for their vivacious mother Lois. Tatiana Maslany leaves a strong impression in the role. Lois's laid-back, frank outlook on life and death gives the boys a common framework for understanding the calamity brought about by the toy monkey they inherited from dear old dad. But it's not enough to keep them in each other's lives as they grow up and the torch of the dual role passes from Christian Convery to the gentleman's Theo James. The movie stumbles just a little through this transition. Neither Shelburne sibling is an especially deep character, with each serving more as a stand-in for different ways of relating to death, but James does provide Hal and Bill with real vulnerability that kept me invested in their quest to get that dang monkey to stop killing people. Hal's difficulty opening up to people and strained relationship with his son Petey shoulder the monkey's more gentle embrace of death and its costs, leaving the more anarchic and crunchy observations to Bill. Bill is by far the more showy of the two roles and the source of James's most entertaining scenes. Perkins supports the character's deadpan paranoia and arrested development with a Superman-inspired costume choice that is still making me laugh. It's an on-the-nose touch to remind both the character and the audience of just how damaging it can be to lose multiple loved ones to the whims of a cursed miniature percussionist. The monkey's centerpiece kills, heralded by calliope music that works like the Jaws theme, are frequent, goopy, and constantly entertaining. Perkins wisely doesn't bog the monkey down with much lore about the toy's origins or its bloodlust, instead letting its deeds speak for themselves. All this graphic mayhem gives the filmmaker ample opportunity to paint his sets with viscera and send body parts flying to all corners of the screen. But Perkins also demonstrates an excellent command of tone throughout these gruesome deaths, and they aren't all punchlines. While some of the kills are played squarely for laughs, a few are truly wrenching and effective reminders of the human stakes of the story. The deaths are usually so violent that they're over in a flash, which not only keeps the monkey humming along, but also reinforces its central notion that life is fragile. You never know when a hibachi knife is gonna fly through the air and end it all for you. Perkins keeps the fun going between these creative kills by populating the monkey with a bevy of colorful side characters who keep the movie's absurdist tone at the forefront. Ricky, the town burnout, a roving gang of girls who bully young Hal, a bafflingly stoner-coated priest, they all get standout moments. There's even a full cheerleading squad that celebrates a coroner taking a corpse out of a house. The kooks on the periphery of the Shelburne story all have unique voices that appropriately pose the question, what Stephen King book did you walk out of? It was Skeleton Crew, by the way. You'll recognize the little stinker on the cover.
Whoever controls it controls life and death.
The monkey marches to the beat of its own bloodstained drum, and it is an irresistible rhythm to groove to. Osgood Perkins and his cast balance the horror and comedy inherent in the movie's silly premise exceptionally well, and the surreal, absurd touches the Longlegs director adds to a world sketched out by Stephen King only help to set it apart from less imaginative, body count-obsessed movies. The evil influence of the titular
IGN
cursed
Fan
toy
Fest
results in
2025
blockbuster
is here.
showcases for fantastic gore effects that, when paired with the film's surprisingly gentle stance on the inevitability of death, affirm how potent horror comedy can be when executed with a strong perspective and a willingness to get weird. Thank you for watching. For more movie reviews, check out what we thought of Wolfman and Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare. For everything else, keep it right here on IGN.
Yeah, everything's fine.
FanFest Day 2 starts right now. Hello, welcome to IGN Fan Fest. I'm your host, David Hatfield.
And I'm your other host, Kim Horcher. Get excited because FanFest is here. For the next 4 days, we're bringing out some of the biggest names in video games, movie, TV, and more directly to you, the fans. Why? Because you deserve it.
FanFest is going strong all week long, and today we've got brand new looks at some truly horrifying, bone-chilling, gruesome, and gory stuff that's lying in wait. Coming up, we'll make contact with some survivors from The Walking Dead Dead City, and after that, summoning some infamous horror luminaries to talk about the upcoming film The Monkey.
Screaming through duct tape over our
Later on,
mouths
we'll take a
and
peek
all
at
that
Until
jazz.
Dawn's jump to the big screen and explore In the Lost Lands, a whole new universe from the mind of George R.R. Martin. All that's coming up today, plus some other spooky surprises lying in wait for unsuspecting viewers.
Now, in case you missed it, yesterday...
Welcome to Geek Media, a brand new podcast network from IGN Entertainment, where we celebrate games.
Time to begin our Game of the Year.
Tech.
Do the same results at 20 watts.
And entertainment.
Welcome to IGN.
We connect you with the stories, voices, and topics you love.
I love Soul Calibur. Banger fighting game series. I wish it would come back.
Geek Media is an ever-growing collection of some of the biggest and best scripted
You just kind of, and you cease to exist.
and unscripted podcasts in the world.
We're talking about a Spider-Man video game. It's not like, a 401k or anything.
And they're all told through a vibrant audio community that celebrates and empowers the geek in everyone.
Absolutely adored that game. I think it's one of the best.
Honestly, have you got any idea what you're doing?
Go right.
Stop helping him. It only shows how hopeless he is.
Guys, you're acting like you're any better at this. See? Got it. Now, off to the base to create another one of you. Nut jobs. There. You hear that? Whenever there's an obstacle, the first thing that comes to your head is, let's make another more competent Jan.
All right.
Relax.
What a boomer.
I'll make it. Boom. Oh my god.
Unbelievable.
You know you can fast travel once you establish a mining outpost. You're giving him too much. Guys, shut it, okay? Or I'll turn this thing off and you're all going back to work.
Come on, try again, Jan. There'll be a whiner.
Damn. Look, all right? Jan is handling things. You think Jan has time for your pet talks? Pause for a second. Disgusting. Should I point out that we have an equivalent of 12 Earth days before the sunrise? Zoom out, if you may.
The base is a mess, and we don't have repair kits.
Oh, you hear that?
Okay, I can see room for improvement here.
hold on. Maybe you could build something useful for a change? Like that greenhouse?
Oh, there, Jan. You remember that gym you promised?
Hey,
that's not a bad idea.
No, scroll up. We need some quality food.
Keep your hats on. It's my decision.
Are you fucking serious? Unbelievable.
Nice.
Just have the courage to say no to
I
idiotic
wouldn't.
ideas.
Hey, it's not my fault Jan made me a scrawny wimp like he is.
I'm heading out. The rest of you can complain all you want. Planning on running away from your problems forever?
It's not like he ever listens to us anyway.
There's no food, by the way.
See? That's because Jan doesn't handle shit here.
Okay, I've had it.
Ah, crap! The alarm again. This is your... Get off my back!
Can't you see we're heading for disaster? I told you this was a bad idea. We have to save this base now.
Screw this! I'm leaving!
Oh, where? There's a magnetic storm outside.
Yeah. Hey, you only treat us like human beings when you need us.
Human beings, you're all practically me.
I feel objectified.
There was no guide for what we had to do, no manual for leaving a world behind. But even we knew we couldn't take everything with us. Some things were too fragile to follow. I left behind my greatest creation, a guardian, a caretaker. Its hands shaped to nurture, its heart programmed to protect. It works tirelessly now, crafting vessels from the bones of a broken world, sending sparks of life into the void. The task I gave it was impossible, but isn't that what hope always is?
Why does the sun go on shining? Why does the sea rush to shore? And oh, they know it's the end of the world. It ended when you said goodbye.
I'm Damon Hatfield, and IGN Fan Fest continues with our week-long coverage of some of the biggest video games, movies, and TV shows, and more. We bring you brand new looks.
Yeah, make way for greatness.
Sibling, come on. Sorry. No, I'm sorry. Hi, Sibley Skulls here from Wow Women of Wrestling, taking over for Damon in his sudden, mysterious absence. I don't know what happened. IGN Fan Fest is here, and it's looking a really solid lineup, right? We've got it going on. I gotta ask you, Goldie, you're first. Of all the properties that are going down, what do you want to see most of?
Well, let me tell you something here, Sibley. There are so many electrifying, mystifying, galvanizing interviews that it'd be a crime for me to pick just one to be excited for. But I will say, AMC has really been stirring the pot and cooking up something fierce with Mayfair Witches. And I'll be damned if you or me or anyone else sweeps on this one.
I think you mean sleeps.
What?
I'll be damned if anyone sleeps on this one.
You heard what I said.
Oh.
Okay, you know what? Let's hear what I have to say. While you're all fixated and bickering about one show, you might want to look ahead and think about the bigger picture. we've got games, we've got exclusive, never-before-seen clips from sensational shows like Devil May Cry, Side Quest, The Beginning After the End, and so much more. That's what I care about. That's what the people want. And Candy Crush always gives the people what they want.
I'm gonna take it back. Thank you. It's definitely just the beginning for us right here at IGN Fan Fest. Things are heating up, and wow, Women of Wrestling will be with you every step of the way.
How has it felt coming back to horror after that sort of sojourn into superhero cinema?
I was so ready for it.
This April, Until Dawn is rising off of PlayStation consoles and into movie theaters everywhere, but the adaptation is going into the dark without a flashlight, telling an all-new story that fans of the game are very curious about. So I'm going to try to get them some answers right now. Here with me today are director David F. Sandberg and co-writer Gary Dauberman. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
The movie version of Until Dawn is telling its own story. It's going its own way. Where did that discussion start?
Well, it happened before me. I thought it was a great idea to do because, the movie or the game is already a movie. It's the most cinematic game that I've played, the closest thing to a movie. So it felt like doing the exact same thing would be just cutting out 8 hours of stuff and condensing it into a movie and removing the interactive stuff, and that wouldn't have been as interesting to me. But you can talk about how it came to be.
Yeah, it was a quick decision because it was I didn't want it to feel as if you're watching someone else play the game. We all know what it's like to sit on a couch where someone else has a controller and you're like, man, I just want them to die so they can hand the controller to me. You know what I mean? I didn't want that experience, the audience that had that experience in the theater. And it was really about, okay, so if we're not going to do that, we still want to be true to the spirit of the game, and how can we really explore the story further and push it further and expand the mythology, make the game part of a larger narrative. So that's kind of was the idea, not to completely push it aside and just go do our own thing. It was really to start building a world and building a sort of an Until Dawn universe.
There's more Until Dawn rather than the same Until
That's right.
Dawn.
Yeah.
Yes.
Another thing that I really appreciate about the look that we've gotten at the movie so far is this sort of jumping around from genre to genre. First of all, what is your favorite genre that you hit in the movie, for each of you maybe? And then which is one that you didn't get to that you wish you had?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, the favorite part is sort of there's, I guess you could say, a body horror section in it. I guess that's what we're going for there. That's my favorite. I don't want to give away at what happens in it, but the found footage was really fun too. And I was kind of surprised how much I liked sort of the slasher element, because I've never been the biggest fan of slasher movies. I enjoy them, but they're not my favorite horror subgenre. But creating that was really fun, and I felt like, I want to do more slasher stuff. That we didn't get to, I don't know. we hit some really fun ones.
I think it would have been cool to do a sci-fi horror, something like that would have been really, really cool.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, but we saved something for the next time. But and I echo the body horror. I thought one of my favorite horror movies is Descent, and I think we have an element of that in this that I really, really like and really enjoy. So that was fun to be able to play around in that world a little bit.
What?
It's still in my face!
Can you give us any hints as to the in-world reason for the genre shifts?
It would be a bit of a spoiler, but it sort of has to do with sort of what's mentioned in the movie is what's scarier than not knowing what comes the next day. You cannot prepare. Maybe you're dealing with the slasher villain one day, okay, we know how to deal with that, but then the next day it's like a supernatural movie, and all those rules you just learned just go out the window. So it has to do with keeping people as afraid as possible.
The answer lies with Dr. Alan Hill, who is in the game and is in our movie, and sort of that connective tissue from one to the other. And I think he has the answer to the question that you're
That's very
for.
interesting.
Yeah.
There's something in the game that is obviously a central part of how that game is played, which is choice. It's cause and effect. How does the movie represent that theme of the game?
Well, that's what I think you guys did so brilliantly in the script, with having this sort of the day sort of starting over, but not in a Groundhog Day kind of way where it's it's the same thing over and over again, but it's different nights every time, you know, different things trying to kill them, different villains, and like, so they can't really learn from what's happening in the same way as in movies like that.
Yeah, I think the choice, you know, it's really about the character dynamics too, which is such a big part of the game, about how, you know, it's like shifting perspectives of shifting POVs from one character to the other, and how they view one another depending on how they react to a different situation. I think that's, you know, inherent to all stories, but I think that's a major element for Until Dawn. Looking at what we didn't want to do, like a you know, sort of a repetition Groundhog Day pattern. I thought about how games have evolved too and become sort of this open world sandbox where it's not, you know, your enemies are also learning how you move and all that stuff in games now. So I wanted to bring that element from video games into this movie as well.
I want to know what each of your relationship is to horror in video games. Do you have like a favorite horror video game that you've played, or like something that immediately comes to mind when you think of that?
The Resident Evil games are great. I mean, I don't play a ton of video games, but I find horror video games in particular are often scarier to me than horror movies. I guess it's because you're in charge and it's not as much, you know, music sort of telling you what's about to come and things like that. But yeah, no, I've loved the Resident Evil games, Outlast, and of course Until Dawn. You know.
Yeah, it's hard not to say. You know, Resident Evil, certainly. You know, Dead Space, Alien Isolation, I enjoyed. You know, there's been a couple ones that have come out this past year that I really, you know, if you want to call the Alan Wake, you know,
Sure.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Right. There's been a lot of great horror in video games for, you know, forever, really. But
you two have obviously, this is not your first collaboration. You worked together on Annabelle Creation.
Yeah.
How was it kind of re-teaming for this movie? Did you have a shorthand that you were able to work from out of that experience?
Yeah, I mean, Annabelle Creation has been one of my best filmmaking experience so far. Like the movie turned out great, and it was just a great shoot. So I've been like wanting to get back to that feeling, you know. And it's like, so when Gary reached out with this, it's like, yes, let's do it, you know.
Yeah, I think there is a shorthand, and you know, we brought along a lot of the same people back from Creation that we just, you know, we know and love, know they can execute, just have full confidence in. So there's not a lot of like, oh man, I hope this person's okay, you know, okay to work with. Like, we know everybody's great, and it's fun, you know.
Yeah. Obviously, you got your start in horror, obviously shorts on YouTube and adapting that into Lights Out back in 2016. You've been in Shazam world for a long time until now. How has it felt coming back to horror after that sort of sojourn into superhero cinema?
I was so ready for it. Yeah, no, I've been like, I wanted to do a horror movie already after the first Shazam, but there was no time. You know, we had to go into the second one. And then after Shazam 2, I was like, well, I have to do horror. But then it was that kind of thing, well, what horror do I want to do? Like a slasher or supernatural or whatever. And then Gary came along with this idea and was like, this is perfect because I get to do all of it, you know? So it couldn't have been like a more perfect project to do after that. And it's a little different from the horror I've done before too, because we do explore all of these, and I also get to do a lot more sort of practical effects, which I was dying to do after, like, I don't hate visual effects in any way, but like after 2 superhero movies, it's like, I just want to do something where it's in camera, you cut it together, and you have a movie. You don't have to wait half a year to see like, oh, what'll it look like, you know? It was just so fun. It's always been a dream of like having these, like all these prosthetics and fake bodies you can do whatever you want with. And like, we have like blood cannons and things like that with like compressed air, just shooting people with blood in the face, and you know.
Not a lot of compressed blood cannons on Shazam.
We had to cut them all out. They were like, put green blood in. I'm like, what are you talking about?
If we want to survive, we have to make it Until Dawn.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Until Dawn comes out on April 25th in theaters everywhere. Do not miss it. We have plenty more Fan Fest for you coming up. Don't go anywhere.
FanFest is presented by War Robots Frontiers. Pre-register now for an exclusive reward.
IGN Plus is where your adventure begins.
What are you selling?
Plus is the place to get unlimited access to all the tools you need to beat your games.
Here's what you need to know for bringing down Gloomspawn.
Plus, awesome exclusive discounts on IGN Store.
Maybe this would tease open your money pouch.
Plus, ad-free browsing on IGN.com. Plus, unlimited game help tools like premium interactive maps with your own custom map markers, filters, marker notes, and more.
This will come in handy.
Plus, access to sweepstakes, giveaways, and free game keys.
Wow! Exactly.
Want more? Head to IGN.com/plus and start your adventure today. IGN Store has it all. From clothes and collectibles to vinyl records, accessories, model kits, and action figures from the biggest and best franchises like The Legend of Zelda, Star Wars, Fallout, Dungeons & Dragons, and more. Whatever your pop culture passion, you're guaranteed to find something you love. There are new and exciting products hitting the store every week, like the Wasteland-ready Fallout Vault 33 hoodie, which pairs perfectly with the working wearable Pip-Boy. Plus, high-quality IGN Store exclusives like the powerful and spicy Star Wars Darkside Hot Sauce by Truff. We've even got merchandise for you to rock while tuning into the IGN shows and podcasts you love. Or cap off a long day by relaxing to the soundtracks of your favorite video games, like Cyberpunk and The Last of Us. And the best part? You don't even need to leave the house to go there. Just head to store.ign.com and start shopping today. The IGN Store. You deserve it.
That was Until Dawn, and you won't have to wait until long to watch it because it's coming to theaters on April 25th.
Up next, In the Lost Lands is a new fantasy film based on the works of George R.R. Martin. It manages to bring together some of the best things on Earth, like witches, werewolves, Mila Jovovich, and Dave Bautista, and turns them loose in a gnarly post-apocalypse. Don't believe me? See for yourself. Here's In the Lost Lands.
Hey IGN, this is Mila Jovovich.
And Dave Bautista, and we're here to bring you an exclusive action-packed sneak peek at our new film, In the Lost Lands, directed by Paul W.S. Anderson from a short story by George R.R. Martin.
In the film, I play Grey Alice, a powerful and feared sorceress who is sent into the Lost Lands by the Queen in search of magical power.
And accompanying Grey into the Lost Lands is her guide, Voice, played by me, and together we must outwit and outfight both man and demon.
Which we do. In the Lost Lands opens nationwide in theaters on March 7th. We can't wait to share this adventure with all of you.
Friends of yours?
Yeah, I don't have many friends.
Me neither.
Find them.
In the Lost Lands is a fantasy action movie adapted from George R.R. Martin's 1982 short story. Here to tell us all about it is the man himself, George R.R. Martin. George, thank you so much for joining us.
No, my pleasure. I'm glad to be here.
So, can you explain a little bit about what In the Lost Lands is about?
It's a epic fantasy, I guess you could call it, even a dark fantasy, because there are elements in it about that are horror, scary stuff, I hope. And it derives from, as you said, a short story that I published in 1982, when I was considerably younger than I am now.
Weren't we all?
I was writing a lot of short stories then in the earlier part of my career. Now I, of course, am most famous for writing these gigantic books that take decades to do and are thousands of pages. But I began with shorter stuff, and In the Lost Lands was one of those. Original anthology called Amazons 2, and reprinted various places since as Dreamsongs. And now it's coming to the big screen.
So director Paul W.S. Anderson and Mila Jovovich are a strong pairing going all the way back to Resident Evil. What did they bring to this adaptation as collaborators?
Well, of course, the visuals. I mean, I've been known to do, screenplays and movies and TV shows in recent years, but certainly not in 1982. So you have to translate words on the screen to words on the page to a look on the screen. And, Paul is an amazing director, amazing visuals, his effects. You really are plunged into another world. And Mila is sensational as Grey Alice. So you feel the characters are coming alive.
It stars Milla Jovovich. Can you tell us about her character?
Sure. She's Grey Alice, who's the central character, a sorceress in a future world. It could be maybe post-Holocaust, maybe post some magical thing, but it's a world that's been devastated, and the cities are mostly ruined. Most people are dead, and there is an area outside of one of the kingdoms called the Lost Lands, where if you're smart, you don't go. But Grey Alice goes anywhere, and she has magical powers, and she's someone that other people come to hire her to do a spell or to get something for you. However, you do business with Grey Alice at your own risk, because she can deliver things, but sometimes there's a bite for them. So there's a saying, you can buy anything you want from Grey Alice, but you'd be smarter not to.
We also obviously worked on Elden Ring. We're big fans of Elden Ring here at IGN. We named it Game of the Year in 2022. Do you have a favorite character that you created for the game?
Not really. I mean, what they wanted was... when they came to me from Software, they wanted the world. They knew the Elden Ring, the action of Elden Ring that the players would get into would be in the, quote, present. But something had created that present, had created that world. So where did that world come from? And, I've done a lot of world building, most notably on Westeros and the backgrounds of A Song of Ice and Fire and Game of Thrones. And I like doing world building. So what had happened 5,000, 10,000 years before the current day action in Elden Ring that led them to that place?
Was everything that you wrote used in the game, or is there more material that could be used in future installments?
Yeah, I think there's, especially when you're world building, there's always more that you actually see on the screen. And, that's true of any of these big epic fantasies. I mean, you look at Tolkien, and there are hundreds of pages of past history before you get to even the era of The Hobbit, and, dozens of kings and wars and things like that. And Tolkien was, of course, the great genius. All of modern fantasy is really in his shadow. And he did that the way no previous writer had ever done it before. I mean, you got hundreds of pages of background and appendices, made it seem very real, like a real history book. If you look at some of the fantasists who came before him, even great ones, it would always begin with, once upon a time there was a kingdom, and there was the king, and he had a beautiful daughter, and then there was a prince from another land. Half the time they didn't even have names. It was like, then the king said, and that could be very effective, with a whole different feel. That's the kind of the fairy tale feel, as opposed to post-Tolkien. I think it's the history book feel, the fantastic history book.
Would you be interested in coming back for a sequel to Elden Ring if you're asked?
Well, I can't say too much about it, but there is some talk about making a movie out of Elden Ring. So we'll see if that comes to pass, and what the extent of my involvement was. I don't know. I'm a few years behind with my latest book, so that also limits the amount of things that I can do. When I wrote In the Lost Lands and created Grey Alice, she was intended to be a series character. There were a lot of series fantasy going on about, Conan the Barbarian, many stories about him, Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser, Fritz Leiber, same thing. So I created Grey Alice thinking I could write a series of stories about her. And you still could, because, it's an interesting world. It's written in short story, so it's not as detailed as some of the other worlds I created, but you could write more short stories about her, even novels, even screenplays. But we'll see. Is this movie a hit? Do they want more stories about Grey Alice? That's for something to be decided down the road. You never know.
Well, this is IGN Fan Fest. We know you're a big Fantastic Four fan growing up. Are you looking forward to the new MCU movie?
I'm interested in seeing it, certainly, because I am a Marvel fan, and Fantastic Four published some of my letters. So I'll certainly see it. I don't know. I'm a little worried. There have been, 3 previous Fantastic Four movies, or 4?
Maybe 4, yeah.
4 would be right. If you count the Roger Corman
The Roger Corman one, right.
The Fantastic Four in the comics was period. It came out in 1961. They were like the first people in space. They were before the Mercury Project or any of that stuff. And they haven't done that with the preceding movies. They've contemporized them. So, yeah, I'm still a comic book and fantasy geek, I'm afraid, deep down.
We'd love to hear it. Thank you so much for joining us, George. In the Lost Lands is in theaters March 7th. We have lots more FanFest to come, so don't go anywhere.
FanFest is presented by the Army National Guard, serving our communities and helping those in need. Are you ready to make a difference?
The average Cinefix movie list features nearly 100 different films and approximately 25 minutes worth of wall-to-wall deep dive analysis. To simulate that pace for this 30-second ad, we're featuring 26 different films, and before you say it, no, that math does not check out. We're not math people, we're movie people. We can't even count down from 10 without ending up at, 96. Subscribe to IGN Movies and TV for more Cinefix movie lists. Bad at math, great at movies.
Can't find that final collectible you're missing? IGN strategy guides and interactive maps are here to help.
One step at a time.
IGN guides are trusted by millions, easy to use, and best of all, free. IGN has the very best, most complete and accurate guides for Shadow of the Erdtree, Baldur's Gate 3, Tears of the Kingdom, and so much more.
See? It's good, right?
Every guide is tested and verified for you by experts. Just search for IGN when you search for guides.
IGN Plus is where your adventure begins.
What are you selling?
Plus is the place to get unlimited access to all the tools you need to beat your games.
Here's what you need to know for bringing down Gloomspawn.
Plus, awesome exclusive discounts on IGN Store.
Maybe this would tease open your money pouch.
Plus, ad-free browsing on IGN.com. Plus, unlimited game help tools like premium interactive maps with your own custom map markers, filters, marker notes, and more.
This will come in handy.
Plus, access to sweepstakes, giveaways, and free game keys.
Wow! Exactly.
Want more? Head to IGN.com/plus and start your adventure today.
Hi there, FanFest. It's the best in show, Goldie Collins. But you already know me as the top dog from WoW Women of Wrestling. It's been an amazing showcase of game trailers and interviews, but IGN FanFest is just getting started. So sit back, stand up, or jump around. Whatever you do, just lock in. There's more FanFest right here on IGN.
Hi everyone, I'm Alexander Daddario and I play Rowan Mayfair on Anne Rice's Mayfair Witches. We hope you've been enjoying the second season. Rowan is the heir to a dysfunctional family of witches with many dangerous secrets, and I mean they are truly dysfunctional. She gave birth to her former lover, Lasher, played by the incredible Jack Houston, and is doing everything in her power to protect her storied family. We meet more of the Mayfair lineage in Scotland and learn more about the deep and dark secrets of this sinister family. And my character embraces her witchy powers and tries to uncover the truth. This season, we return to Anne Rice's beloved New Orleans and also filmed in Ireland, which served as Scotland. We had the most incredible time filming in both places. And as a special treat only for IGN FanFest, we have a sneak peek of an exclusive clip with Rowan and her father, Cortland, played by the iconic Harry Hamlin, from the final episode, airing on Sunday, March 2nd at 9 p.m. on AMC and AMC+.
Oh, I figured you'd be here near him, and I found some coffee.
They're still in there.
So, how does it feel you're Lasher married to someone else?
Doesn't change anything between us.
You know, Ian's lot is not going to just let him go. You're going to have a battle on your hands. That's a battle you can't fight without losing your Lark.
I mean, why go through the trouble of stitching Lark? Why not just kill me? If they wanted to, they could have found a way already.
Well, You must be valuable to them.
Thank you. Okay, Julian wants me here, but he wants me helpless. Did you talk to Ian about him or about what happens next?
I gather that Lass's children are expected quickly, and there's going to be some kind of blessing. That's all I could get out of them.
Do you think Ian's been in the Victrola telling Julian everything?
Well, I think I'd know if he had.
Over 300 stories.
Shady sign. Killer capital USA.
Most people would say that killing teenagers is not a good thing. But here I am, and here you are for another chapter of Fear Street.
This is the night we've all been waiting for. Senior prom. Welcome, class of '88!
You want to be prom queen. I just don't want you to embarrass yourself. This is Shady Side. Nice girls don't win. How do we get out of here?
Chris, the ship's moving. Get out of there now. What? Dave, can you repeat? The ship is moving. Get out of the manifold right now. Copy that.
Warning. Dynamic positioning.
I'm losing everything here.
Where's our power? Dead in the water. Cap, we're drifting out of control.
Abort. Abort. We have a runoff. Give the divers as much umbilical as possible, Doctor. Chris, our umbilicals are over the manifold. We've got to use them to climb to the top. Chris, you've got to really move. Yeah, I'm coming. Divers, where are you? Diver 1, on top of the manifold. Bill, I don't have eyes on you. Diver 2, also on top. My umbilical snag! The wind's spinning us around. Power cable's about to give! Dive control! There's no umbilical left in the belt. That's everything I've got!
Thank you so much to the women of wrestling for crashing our show and taking over. You're all very nice for a group of people that could absolutely kick our butts.
Up next, we've got an exclusive look at The Walking Dead: Dead City, which will give us an idea what horrible things are in store for season 2. Millions of walkers, obviously, but even in the post-apocalypse, something tells me New York rent is still horrifyingly expensive.
The Walking Dead is taking another bite out of the Big Apple in season 2 of The Walking Dead: Dead City. And here to tell us all about what we can expect from the hit AMC series are stars Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Laurnen Cohan, who are also executive producers, along with big boss man of the Walking Dead universe, Scott Gimple. Lauren, Jeffrey, Scott, I want to thank you all so much for joining us here at IGN Fan Fest to tell us a little bit more about The Walking Dead, Dead City Season 2. We're already, is this 2 years in now? We're 2 years in. We're 2 seasons in. How excited are you all?
Hard to believe.
Yeah,
we're good.
On the precipice of 2 years.
Many years.
I'm glad we're returning to the Big Apple. I want to start with you, Lauren. You know, coming off of the back of season 1, you know, we see Maggie reunite with her son Herschel. You know, going into season 2, can you describe to us, like, what's the mental state like Maggie's in as things kind of pick up going into season 2? Like, where do we find her?
Sadly, not everything, because it is the Walking Dead universe. Sadly, not everything is quite as rosy as it could be or seems, or one would hope. My son is still a teenage boy, and there's sort of these natural tensions of navigating just family life. And I've got Ginny in my care, and she's a teenage girl, and so there's this sort of like very relatable domestic dynamics that are playing out as we come back in season 2, on top of this apocalyptic world and trying to sort of eat and stay safe and sleep. So that's sort of where we find ourselves before another big bad thing happens.
That we can't dive too deep into, I'm assuming, Scott.
Well, there's so many big bad things that happen.
You know, part of the joy of stories is, you know, watching them.
Watching them unfold. I mean, you're absolutely right. I feel like one character, though, Jeffrey, I'm talking to you. Your character has seen so many ups and downs, and you went from being like just a despised character to, like, I would say, like a fan favorite now. So I'm kind of curious, where do we find Negan as we move into season 2? Like, you got that barbed wire bat, Lucille. You know, what's the significance here with that bat, and where do we find Negan as we move into season 2?
Well, we find Negan, I think, very much under the thumb of the Dama and Croat, and sort of on some ground he's not real familiar with. And he's going to try to flip that script, of course, but he's in a place that I don't think he's enjoying very much. Beginning of the season, we find him having a hard time, I think, with all of it. And, you know, he's always scheming and trying to figure out how he can get on top of the situation, but he finds himself in a hard spot. The Lucille of it all, I mean, what can I say? I love that thing. But I, as an actor, that's the only prop I've ever had my whole life that I enjoy carrying around with me. And it brought back very fond memories for me, not for Lauren. But it's a good exclamation point for Negan.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, is it true that you were overly protective of the bat while you were on set? Like, you wouldn't let anyone touch it? Or is that just a...
Yeah, but I've always been like that with that one prop. I would let Lauren hold her.
Yeah, Maggie gets her hands on it.
But it's just a prop that, like, in between takes, I keep with me. You know, like, if I go to my trailer, she goes to the trailer with me. If I go and get a cup of coffee, then she's at craft service with me.
Yeah, she has a chair.
I guess it kind of just speaks to the how connected you are to the character, Jeffrey. Like, I mean, because, like, you know, as we all know, like, Lucille is that was the name of Negan's wife, and so, I mean, is that the kind of correlation that you kind of draw to it, that you're like this is like my baby?
I think very much that it all goes back to Lucille, the wife, and then I think carries on more meaning, especially this season, getting it back. Is it good or is it bad? Negan's going to have a love-hate relationship because that's what he's having in real life with kind of everything right now, and the bat is another thing that he as much as Jeffrey likes it, Negan may or may not have a hard time with her at times.
Well, yeah, I'm just glad that Lucille's back. I think fans are as well. We'll see how it all plays out in season 2. Now, Lauren, I got to ask you this: what's been your approach to the character as we've seen her go through so much throughout the various seasons of The Walking Dead and now in Dead City?
It's such an unprecedented length of time in a certain kind of subject matter and with one singular character. Luckily we've been blessed to have writing that refreshes us each year, that takes us on new challenges with our character. For a long time in The Walking Dead, we got to see characters interact, but we were serving often like 5 storylines. And in Dead City, we go deeper and deeper and deeper into fewer lanes. So I guess to answer your question, it has felt renewable, and it has felt renewed, especially this year. It has ironically become that much more real for me over these 15 years, and it's also I've grown as a woman. I'm older than I was. I have more things that I feel that I want to protect. So that was a long answer, but I think that's been part of this thread of the journey for me with Maggie.
I just think she's really grown as a woman. I just wanted to say, yes, you have.
Mm-hmm.
You know what?
Thanks,
I think
Steph.
you've both grown.
As women.
As women.
You know what? You're absolutely right, Scott. I got to ask you this, Jeffrey, though. Yeah, your character has grown. I'm kind of curious to know from you, did you think that Negan would have lasted as long as he has?
No. Yeah, no. When I joined the show, I remember talking to Scott initially, and I think they wanted me for at least 2 years, but I didn't anticipate it could go on sort of further than that, maybe 3. And then look at me, I'm still hanging out. I feel very blessed to be here, by the way. But Negan has had a roller coaster of a journey from who we met, in season 6 to where he is now. There has been many iterations of Negan and him trying to sort of navigate this world. And I think that this show, like Lauren just said, I think has allowed us to kind of dig a lot deeper than we've ever been able to before, which is pretty cool. That being said, this year was rough on Negan, and we'll see how he comes out of it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're still with us. Negan is still with us. Yeah. I mean, as a longtime Supernatural fan, I just like seeing your face on my TV. So,
thank you, much appreciated. Thank you.
Jeffrey, you and Lauren, you're both executive producing as well. Lauren, you're stepping behind the camera as well. You directed an episode or 2.
Mm-hmm.
What was that experience
just
like?
one.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Tell us about it.
Awesome. I cannot even, I'll try to put it into words. It was my favorite episode in our season before I knew that it was the one I would be directing. It's one of the biggest VFX episodes the Walking Dead universe has ever accomplished. Yeah, it was so challenging because it wasn't an episode that Maggie wasn't in. I was in almost the entire episode, but it was great. It was, for a first time directing experience, I felt like I got conditioned in the deep end, and I came out just ready to do more, but very, very tired.
She was awesome. I can attest to it. She was really, really good.
Now, Scott, I got to ask you this. By the end of season 1, it seems as though, Negan is left with no choice but to return to his old ways. But my immediate assumption is he's not going to be the main antagonist for season 2. Could you tell us, what's the driving force for the conflict in season 2? Who are maybe some of the new characters that we might see that might emerge?
I think there is no single big bad. There's a lot of shifting as far as the power rankings this season. It isn't all antagonistic. It's a little more complex like that. It's a little more political. It's a little more, and then it can get kind of physical. You have characters, or rather actors, like Kim Coates, who is a character. I don't know, hero, villain, jester. I have no idea sometimes. I arrived on set. He took me by the arm, and I had one of the most surreal conversations in the world. The dude is an entertainer.
He's awesome.
I can't wait for people to see how he interacts with these characters we have in front of us. So,
do you think you could reveal to us when can we expect to see season 2 of Dead City?
5425. 425. I was trying to be clever.
It's a locker combination.
Yeah, baby. And your swimming kit is inside, as well as a DVD of season 2 of Dead City. Yeah, May 4th, baby.
Yes, May 4th. Y'all heard it here first on IGN Fan Fest, May 4th.
May the 4th be with you.
Oh, you did that on purpose then. Okay.
It does seem that way, doesn't it?
Now that we know when we can expect it, is it possible for us to get like a sneak peek of some sort? Because like I want to see what we're in store for.
It's amazing that you ask, because we just happen to have the opening minutes of the first episode of season 2 of Dead City for your viewing pleasure.
Jeffrey, Lauren, Scott, thank you so much for spending some time with me here at IGN Fan Fest to tell us a little bit more about The Walking Dead, Dead City. And now we finally know when we can expect it. May 4th. I'm so excited. Yeah. Thank you all so much.
You bet. Thank you. This is so nice.
Thank you for this.
And there you have it. Well, you can watch The Walking Dead, Dead City only on AMC and look forward to the season 2 premiere on May 4th. Keep it locked right here as IGN continues with more FanFest.
FanFest is presented by Mega Break. Open beta available now on PC and Xbox with crossplay.
The Cinefix Top 100. A list so secretive even we don't know what movies are on it or where they rank.
What do you mean you don't know?
Each episode will reveal one of the movies.
Did I rush it? Felt like I rushed. That was good. I liked it.
Talk about why it belongs and finally find out where it ranks.
Are you not entertained?
Are any of the movies we've shown here even on the list? I have no idea, and it drives me crazy. Join us as we find out on Cinefix, IGN, and wherever you get your podcasts.
Why so serious?
IGN Plus is where your adventure begins.
What are you selling?
Plus is the place to get unlimited access to all the tools you need to beat your games.
Here's what you need to know for bringing down Gloomspawn.
Plus, awesome exclusive discounts on IGN Store.
Maybe this would tease open your money pouch.
Plus, ad-free browsing on IGN.com. Plus, unlimited game help tools like premium interactive maps with your own custom map markers, filters, marker notes, and more.
This will come in handy.
Plus, access to sweepstakes, giveaways, and free game keys.
Wow. Exactly.
Want more? Head to IGN.com/plus and start your adventure today.
Can't find that final collectible you're missing? IGN strategy guides and interactive maps are here to help.
One step at a time.
IGN guides are trusted by millions, easy to use, and best of all, free. IGN has the very best, most complete and accurate guides for Shadow of the Erdtree, Baldur's Gate 3, Tears of the Kingdom, and so much more.
See? It's good, right?
Every guide is tested and verified for you by experts. Just search for IGN when you search for guides.
Shout out to the cast of The Walking Dead Dead City. We're gonna keep the party going for you horror fans out there with a very special treat. That's because we're closing out today's FanFest stream with some of the biggest names in the business.
Here to tell us all about the upcoming horror movie The Monkey are directors Osgood Perkins and James Wan, and also a man who needs no introduction, but we're doing one anyway because we can't believe we're actually saying this. Legendary horror icon and one of the most respected authors on Earth, Stephen King.
Everybody dies. And that's life. I'll die. And you will both die. And all of your friends and their parents and all of their pets and everybody. Some of us peacefully in our sleep. And some of us horribly, violently, tied up with clothesline and screaming through duct tape over our mouths and all that jazz. And to hell with it. Oh, come on, let's go dancing.
You know, the thing is, we can analyze this to and back, but basically, it's just balls to the wall.
Hello everybody, I am Tom Jorgensen and I am delighted today to be talking to the creative team behind Neon's The Monkey, writer-director Osgood Perkins, the producer James Wan, and of course, the author of the short story, Stephen King. Gentlemen, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
As somebody that really loves adaptations of Stephen King's work on film, what makes The Monkey such a perfect short story to adapt into a movie?
Just when you know, it's very rare when you can see the poster before you even start doing your thing. And I just knew that there's something about this monkey's face. There's something about toy monkeys that lives in the uncanny corners of the human psyche for some reason. And I just felt like as a recognizable entity, it seemed like an automatic, yes, I got to go for this, because, you know, when you get that much sort of assist from the material, you're kind of 10 steps ahead of the game.
Like what Oz has just said, the sort of iconographic nature of the toy monkey itself, or let's not call it a toy, but of the monkey, and ultimately what it represents. And I think a combination of those two just really, speaks to my imagination too. I'm a big fan of sort of like, creepy haunted icons, and there's nothing more haunted than this particular object.
Now, Stephen, do you find over the years, you've seen a lot of adaptations of your work, through the decades. Do you find that there are traits that those adaptations share when those adaptations are done well?
Well, they vary from case to case. There are movies like Shawshank Redemption and The Body, Stand By Me, that are, set in the real world. But the horror stuff, a lot of times it isn't all that successful because I think people have a tendency to play it straight. And of course, when Oz did the movie, when the monkey like twirls his little sticks and beats on the thing, the people die. And the way that he's created the monkey and the way that he shot it, I think, man, there's going to be a lot of nightmares from this movie. And I don't know really how well the the toys are going to sell because it's creepy. It's goddamn creepy.
There is no shortage of pretty fantastic gore effects, actually. But it's also, you know, contextualized in a way that it's very funny as well when a lot of these deaths happen. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between deploying gore in a way that's meant to get a laugh versus evoke sort of a scream or discomfort?
Well, in developing the script and sort of mapping out how these deaths were going to work, it sort of just became one of the rules that I imposed on myself, that none of these deaths could actually happen. Like, none of them are you know, physics legit. None of, like, water and electricity don't operate like that. You can't actually go through somebody with a Benihana knife. So I think as long as I kind of kept everything in the cartoon realm, you know, for me it was more like people dying in the way that Wile E. Coyote dies. Yeah. Right? Like Wile E. Coyote dies 10 times in an episode. And bounces right back for more, and it's sort of delightful. Itchy and scratchy, same premise. So for me, it was much more about kind of how to position these encounters with death as being just like patently cartoon, and really just wanting to sort of come in on the shoulders of people like Robert Zemeckis and John Landis and Joe Dante, who had more. There was a playful element to it. There was never meant to. I never tried to sicken anybody, and I don't think we sicken anyone. I think we make everybody smile in a nice way. So, mission accomplished.
Yeah, and then and Steven, I know I kind of want to throw that to you a little bit, because I think when people think of, you know, maybe generally the idea of a Stephen King movie, they do think, oh yeah, gore and guts and blood and all this stuff. But what is it about how the monkey uses those things? I have to imagine that it delighted you. I think you called it batshittery of the highest order at some point recently.
Yeah, I did call it that. And the thing is, humor and horror are Siamese twins. They're very close. I think that it stops being funny when it starts being you. And nobody is going to feel that they're involved with the characters in this the way that they are, say, with some of the characters in a movie like Stand By Me. It's more of almost like a creep show or a Tales from the Crypt kind of thing than it is a real scary horror movie like The Haunting. And, you know, Oz is right when he says that the deaths are like Wile E. Coyote. Man, there are a couple of things in this movie that just made me howl. I mean, I just sort of hate myself for howling, but I howl nonetheless. I mean, there's a couple of things. There's a thing with fishing lures that you're never going to forget. You're going to see it for the rest of your fucking life.
The monkey comes in at a pretty blazingly paced, I think it's about 98 minutes or so. It really, really packs a punch. I'm very curious to know what everyone's take is on this sort of ongoing conversation about movie runtimes, especially as it relates to horror films. Does anyone have an opinion on the 90-minute movie being perfect?
Yeah, listen, I feel that way sometimes because, you know, as we make movies, we tend to, come up with, more plots, more characters than we kind of somehow need. There's something about a really lean, tight genre movie that just plays the best. And I think, I think Sam Raimi said similar thing as well, that, a horror movie has no business being longer than like 84 minutes or something like that. And to some degree, I kind of like agree with that.
I think the same thing. I think that the Brutalist, for instance, is a wonderful movie, but you have to take your lunch, and you have to make sure that you go to the bathroom beforehand, because you're going to be sitting there for 3.5 hours. Now, I'm a punk rock fan. I always have been. I like the Ramones, I like a song like, they have a song called Every Time I Eat Vegetables, I Think of You. And, that song goes about 2 minutes and 4 seconds long. It gets in, it does its business, and it gets back out again. And I feel that way about horror movies as well. I think that you get in there and you want to see something that immediately pulls you in, drags you in, and you get nailed to your chair. You don't want to get up. You don't want to go out and have a cigarette. You want to just watch that movie and see what happens next.
If you think about telling a horror story is sort of like still telling a scary story around a campfire, or telling a kid a scary story before bed. And there's a certain pithy quality to that, right? Where you don't want to hang around and sort of tell like, I'm going to tell a scary story around the campfire. Cut to 40 minutes, you're still telling the story, and everyone's kind of like, So I think there's an immediacy to the horror yarn, which works better. Barry Sonnenfeld, they asked him why. I said, Barry, why was Men in Black a hit? He said, because it was 89 minutes. And I love that. And it's such a perfect Sonnenfeld thing to say. But it's true, like the horror package is like a bullet, right? And as opposed to this sort of like sprawling pastoral thing.
Well, there is, despite it being a pretty punchy runtime there is a lot to discuss about the movie. We are about to go into full spoilers about The Monkey, but obviously we don't want to ruin the movie for you. So make sure you head over to IGN.com for the full version of this interview. We have plenty more FanFest coming for you. Stay right here.
Everybody dies. And that's life.
Oh,
A huge thanks to our friends at Neon for all that monkey business, and to everyone else who made today such a terrifyingly good time. And with that, FanFest Day 2 has come to an end, but there are still 3 more days to go. Join us tomorrow for exclusive looks at Netflix's Devil May Cry and much, much more.
That all kicks off at 10 a.m. Pacific time right here on IGN. But if you want to get your hands on something cool right now, head on over to IGN Rewards for a chance to win a ton of cool FanFest stuff, like a Spawn issue #1 inspired resin statue signed by Todd McFarlane, or an Edo Habana World Tour ticket, and even some Day 1 DLC codes for the upcoming game Monster Hunter Wilds. Head to IGN.com/rewards and reward yourself with some amazing stuff today.
And remember, if you missed any part of FanFest today, head to IGN.com or IGN's YouTube and get caught up on it all. Thank you all so much for watching IGN FanFest. We'll see you tomorrow.
FanFest is presented by War Robots Frontiers. Pre-register now for an exclusive reward.
Welcome to Geek Media, a brand new podcast network from IGN Entertainment, where we celebrate games.
Time to begin our Game of the Year.
Tech.
Do the same results at 20 watts.
And entertainment.
Welcome to IGN Live.
We connect you with the stories, voices, and topics you love.
I love Soul Calibur. Banger fighting game series. I wish it would come back.
Geek Media is an ever-growing collection of some of the biggest and best scripted.
You just kind of, and you cease to exist.
And unscripted podcasts in the world.
We were talking about a Spider-Man video game. It's not like, a 401k or anything.
And they're all told through a vibrant audio community that celebrates and empowers the geek in everyone.
Absolutely adored that game. I think it's one of the best platformers made.
We're building a global community of of enthusiasts igniting growth and creativity across every platform, and we invite you to join the conversation. And hey, when you're here, everything is better. That's why Geek Media is everywhere you are. We reach over 490 million people every month across 110 countries. And with over 83 million followers across every social media site, you won't have to go far to find us.
Hey, what's up, Super Ninfrendos? We got this locked down.
You can tune into any of our shows on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. We can't wait to geek out with you. Geek Media. Behind every story is a geek.
Can't find that final collectible you're missing? IGN strategy guides and interactive maps are here to help.
One step at a time.
IGN guides are trusted by millions, easy to use, and best of all, free. IGN has the very best, most complete and accurate guides for Shadow of the Erdtree, Baldur's Gate 3, and so much more.
See? It's good, right?
Every guide is tested and verified for you by experts.